Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Is it Monday or is it Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, I thought so. Good morning, everybody.
Good
Oh,
morning.
that's better. All right, I wake you guys up. I see Wayne who's got his Mountain Dew. There's some coffee in the back if we need. All right, you guys, welcome today. We have an awesome class, something a little different than what we've done before, but I think it's definitely something that's great and it's needed, especially now that we're approaching the third quarter. Everyone's going to start thinking about January and things that we need to be doing or things that we need to be doing to wrap up and hit the end of this year strong. So today we have Steve Norday. Yeah, I'm gonna mess it up. Sorry. He's gonna be here teaching us some awesome stuff. So let's give it up for Steve. All right.
It's not about me, it's about you guys. So thank you. Once again, my name is Steve Norday. Thank you for attending. This class is going to be a little bit unique and different than what you've encountered before, and we'll talk about that a little bit. I hope we have enough time to cover everything I've put together. If not, maybe we'll have to just either skip it or reschedule a second session, depending on how you feel about the material. Again, this is going to be different and unique. I ask that you do participate. And if you're still working on a test, just keep working on it. I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to start off watching a movie. And forget the language of it, things, I apologize. I didn't make it.
There's no profanity.
I think I can recycle.
The water white planes on the hook. 5 units, Mountain View, what have you. She has to check with a lawyer. Let her check with a lawyer. Sell it. That's what she's got. Couldn't tell you. I don't like the whole thing, because all I need is a leak. They move you out. The rich get rich, that's the law of the land. Who wants to feed them? It is 7:30. So who is it? Where is Mr. Ross? Well, I'm not a leash, so I don't know. Let me have your attention for a moment. Because you're talking about what? You're talking about bitching about that sale you shot. Some son of a bitch don't want to buy land. Somebody don't want to be selling some broad, trying to screw so forth. Let's talk about something important. Let's talk about something important. Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only. You think I'm fucking with you? I am not fucking with you. I'm here from downtown. I'm here from Mitch and Murray. And I'm here on a mission of mercy. Your name's Levine. You call yourself a salesman, you son of a bitch. I don't gotta listen to this shit. You certainly don't, pal. Because the good news is you're fired. The bad news is you've got just 1 week to regain your job, starting with tonight. Starting with tonight's sit. Oh, have I got your attention now? Good. Because we're adding a little something to this month's sales contest. As you all know, first prize is Cadillac Eldorado. Anybody want to see second prize? Second prize is Simpson. Third prize is you're fired. You get the picture? You laughing now? You got leads. Mitch and Murray paid good money. Get their names to sell them. You can't close the leads you're given. You can't close shit. You are shit. Hit the bricks, pal, and beat it, because you are going out. The leads are weak. The leads are weak. Fucking leads are weak. You're weak. I've been in this business 15 years. What's your name? Fuck you. That's my name. You know why, mister? Because you drove a Hyundai to get here tonight. I drove an $80,000 BMW. That wanting and you can't play in the man's game, you can't close them, then go home and tell your wife your troubles. Because only one thing counts in this life. Get them to sign on the line which is dotted. You hear me, you fucking faggots? A, B, C. A always B, B, C closing. Always be closing. Always be closing. AIDA. Attention, interest, decision, action. Attention. Do I have your attention? Interest. Are you interested? I know you are, because it's fuck or walk. You close or you hit the bricks. Decision. Have you made your decision for Christ? Action. AIDA. Get out there. You've got the prospects coming in. You think they came in to get out of the rain? The guy don't walk on the lot unless he wants to buy. Sitting out there waiting to give you their money, but you're going to take it. You're man enough to take it. What's the problem, pal? You, boss. You're such a hero. You're so rich. How come you're coming down here wasting time on such a bunch of bums? You see this watch? You see this watch? Yeah. That watch costs more than your car. I made $970,000 last year. How much you see, pal, that's who I am, and you're nothing. Nice guy? I don't give a shit. Good father? Fuck you, go home and play with your kids. You want to work here? Close. You think this is abuse? You think this is abuse, you cocksuckers? You can't take this. How can you take the abuse you get on a sit? You don't like it? Leave. I can go out there tonight. The materials you got, make myself $15,000. Tonight, in 2 hours, can you? Can you? Go and do likewise. AIDA. Get mad, you son of a bitches. Get mad. You know what it takes to sell real estate? It takes brass balls to sell real estate. Go and do likewise, gents. Money's out there. You pick it up, it's yours. You don't, I got no solution for you. You want to go out of those sits tonight and close, it's yours. Not, you're going to be shining my shoes. And you know what you'll be saying? Bunch of losers sitting around in the bar. Oh, yeah, I used to be a salesman. It's a tough racket.
Coffee's for closers.
So for years, unfortunately, in my experiences, most sales executives took that as the training and that's what they would tell us. What do you get out of that? You really don't get anything other than get berated and yelled at and cursed at, but you really don't understand how you're supposed to be better at closing or how you're supposed to be a better salesperson. You're just told to go out and do it. So again, this training is going to be a little bit different. We're going to have another video we're going to watch here for a second. So again, this is Sales Master Course. This is a 2-hour real estate centric version of a much larger class. The actual full Sales Master Course is 8 hours. So again, we may run out of time, but hopefully we can get a lot through this in 2 hours. So, well, where are you going? I really wanted to see what she would do. All right. Hold on. Let me back up. If you've seen this before, don't spoil it. Okay?
No, I heard it was gonna be 2 hours, so I figured I'd take off.
Yeah. Leave me here. All right. Read the instructions. If you've seen this before, don't spoil it. Here we go.
This is a test of selective attention. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball.
14 or
13 back, 13.
Correct.
So 14 or 15.
But did you see the gorilla?
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah, but I didn't count them all.
Oh my god. That's funny.
Holy crap.
I totally did not even see that.
This video is from Search by Daniel.
That's hilarious.
Okay, please follow along. So read this out loud, put your name, and then say this. So for example, Steve, you will participate.
Ilona, you will participate.
Sharice, you will participate.
Ilona, you will participate.
Sharice, you will participate.
Practice.
Sharice, you will have fun.
Sharice, you will have fun. Sharice, you will ready.
So say your name, you're right.
Oh, I said Sharice.
She has been sick for the last week, so she's heavily
That's
medicated.
so funny. It's because I'm always listening to you, so I started repeating what you said. See, it's a great teacher over there.
I appreciate
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. How many times did I say Sharice?
All right, so by affirming yourself, you're more likely to succeed because you're telling yourself, not just I need to do better, but Steve, you need to do better.
affirmation.
Correct. So if you're going to do any affirmations, do it in this format. Oop, you did the quiz. Okay, so why am I doing this? I've been in sales in my non-military career. I was in the active duty and then the reserves for 23 years. The rest of the time I've been in sales, I've been in gourmet food, I've been in jewelry, I've been in computers, I've been in software. Most of the training I've gone to has all been pep rallies, and you feel great and you feel energized, whether it's you're going to something like Tony Robbins and it's a personal experience, or you're going to sales-centric training. By the end of it, you feel great, you feel pumped, and then 3 days later, you're back in the same rut, and you're like, what did I really get out of that? What? You made them rich. You thought you were going to get richer because you're going to apply some of those principles and practices, and it doesn't materialize. So I wanted to create a training that was different. That one is, it's about you guys. It's not about me. So again, I keep saying it over and over again. It's participatory. And the second, that it's all fact-based. It's not my stories when I sold. It's not my anecdotes. It's not my adages, because that's not you. That's not your job, your life, your time, your career, your whatever you are doing. We're all different. We're all doing the same kind of thing, but how it applies differently. When I give my sales team scripts, I tell them this is the context, but it needs to be your words. Otherwise, it's not going to be believable because you're just reading off the paper or you're just reading it from memory, but you're not believing it. And I hate when I call somewhere or I get somewhere and you can tell they're just reading something verbatim. I just end up hanging up or just getting really annoyed. And you see that especially when you get telemarketers overseas who don't speak English, like computer tech people, who are reading from a book, and you can hear them flipping through the pages because you said this and you're trying to figure out what to read next. They don't even know what they're reading. All right. So here's the website. It's salesmastercourse.com/REE. All the references used in it, there's 27 different references I use, can be found there. And it breaks down what topic and what the reference is. So if you want to know more about it or where I got it or how I got it, that's reference. Throughout the whole presentation, you're going to see the blue underlying hyperlinks. Those are the references that I use. So if you want, again, if you want to know more about a topic, that's where it's at. That's me. It's kind of a grainy picture because in reality, it's a very small picture. Train like you fight. So that's, again, why you want to participate. You want to participate like this is the real thing. Because if you just kind of fake it and think about it in your head, that's not how it's going to sound when you're actually on the phone or how it is when you're talking to somebody in person. So when you practice with somebody, a spouse, a child, a parent, a dog even, is better than practicing with yourself. Out loud, if you're going to do it yourself, then follow through. But I've seen most people who practice by themselves tend to go, and I'm going to go out there and I want you to buy this house. And okay, I got it. We mumble. Well, that doesn't do me any good. But if you do that with a human being, it changes it because you have to articulate. So we watched the video before about the gorilla. That's what happens when we get myopic. We get so focused on the little details, we miss what's happening around us. So as you learn today, don't get so caught up in the one point I'm making. Look at it from the big picture of how does it apply to you. If anybody wants a lifesaver or a cough drop, I have them. What do you want? Which one?
Pass them around.
Just pass them around?
Yeah.
Okay, that'll work. All right. So in sales, often we're told that you need to understand your customer. You need to figure out what they want, where they're going, their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, what kind of house they want, how many kids do they want, do they have pets, do they have in-laws? But do we ever analyze ourselves? So I'm gonna ask each one of you. So Charisse, what is your biggest weakness?
My subtlety.
Your subtlety, lack of,
Lack of subtlety.
I was
There you go.
gonna say,
aloneness?
my biggest weakness is I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
I would say having random conversations, asking questions. I'm very direct and I have trouble not being direct.
Victoria?
Confidence,
Lack of confidence?
Yeah.
Great.
getting rid of my retirement mode and to really get back into work.
Okay.
Because I'm retired.
Okay,
Motivation.
keep going.
Yeah.
Is it the beginning of the day or is it all day?
Well, if I don't get going in the beginning of the day, then the rest of the day.
Fair enough. I can relate to that. So again, the better you understand yourselves, and that's the ultimate goal of Sales Master Course, is to understand yourself so you're able to better understand your customer. Okay, so again, we're going to review the sales or the real estate industry as a whole. They're going to review the sales profession, and then we're going to tunnel down to you, that you're not a number. Okay, so I want everybody to do this. Everybody stand up. Okay, put your arms out. Lift them. Now I want you to imagine it's a bright, warm, sunny day. It could be at the beach, it could be about the mountains, it could be wherever. Now close your eyes and feel the sun on your face, on your hands. Feel the breeze. Pretend you're that butterfly floating around. Take a deep breath and hold it. Count to 15 and then exhale. Okay, do it one more time. Inhale, hold it for 15 and then exhale. All right, lower your arms. Sit. Everybody feel calm now. Everybody feel focused. All right. Now, next part we're going to do, you're going to do it from your chairs, and you're just going to tap. Okay? Now bear with me. This is probably going to make you uncomfortable at first. Just go with it. Now here's the trick. I need you two to come over here and sit here. Victoria, turn your back to the wall there. Charisse, turn around. Okay? So we're all going to do this together. I'm going to stand over here once I get going. While you're tapping, you need to make eye contact with everybody in the room. Okay? So constantly be looking. Don't be going looking around there. Look at your hands. Look at each other. All right? Now wait. You're going to tap to. Here it comes.
Weird.
A little weird? All right. The reason the military has people march in cadence over and over and over again, left, right, is it builds unity, it builds teamwork, it builds camaraderie. It builds a connection because you're all relying on everybody to be in sync, to be in step, to be doing things the right way. Same thing with the tapping. Whenever you're in a group, if you can arrange to do something like that, you'll be surprised at how remarkable it is to get people to break down the barriers of strangeness. If you take a room full of people and put them in here, now you guys know each other, so it's different because you guys are joking around, you're laughing, and you know each other by first name. Most of the time, you get a sales training, people don't know each other. When I do this, I don't allow bosses to be in the same room. They have to take the course at a different time because I don't want them to be judged or you to feel like you're being judged because you got your boss there. Now, we let Sharice be here only because you already have this connection of teamwork. All right. But it is, again, I told you, you're gonna feel like this is awkward and a little embarrassing or whatever, but it builds cohesion. When you're in rhythm with somebody, whether it's a customer or a loved one or your children, you have to be able to communicate. And when you have that connection and you have that bond and you're in sync, it's magical, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And when you step out of sync, that's how a lot of relationships end, is because people are out of sync. They don't understand me anymore. My kids don't understand me. I don't know what my kids are talking about. You're out of sync. If you can get back in sync, doing things like this, doing things together, creates that unity. So I want you to keep that in mind.
She's mom.
Okay, so real estate by the numbers. Oh yeah, sorry. Okay, so some of your answers on your quiz will be appearing. It will say down here in the lower left-hand corner. Oh, I'm sorry, it's in the right-hand corner. All right. So does that surprise you guys?
Yeah.
A lot more than you thought, or a lot less?
Last.
I had 3/4 of a million.
What's that?
I had 3/4 of a million.
$750 million. Again, this is nationwide. Does that help? Is that clarified? Maybe you were thinking statewide or?
No, I did nationwide, but I was way high.
Yeah, I put 14 million.
25.
25.
2.2 and 400,000.
I put 500,000.
All right, so obviously, so the market we know has been pretty hot in Florida, and most of the country prices are going up. And what I read the other day is that housing prices today have equaled, in most places in the United States, have equaled what they were in pre-2008 collapse. So we've rebounded from that, which has some people worried because they're like, are the prices hyperinflated and who's buying these because supposedly people are having a hard time getting approved, or do we have another bubble or whatever? So again, I'm putting that out there for awareness, but look where your market is. Your market is strong. There's a lot of opportunity.
I was gonna say, just for the sake of the video and stuff, you just might say that out loud for the people who don't.
Sure. So 5.51 million existing homes were sold in 2017, and 612,000 new construction homes were sold last year. And again, these links represent references where you can look it up again. Go to that website, go to that link, and you can click it and see that these are two different sources.
Yeah, I knew new construction was coming up, but that's apparently fast.
Okay, almost 64% of families now own a home.
Wow.
Okay, so who are these people? The key things are in the red. First-time home buyers make up 34% of sales, typically a two-bedroom, three-bedroom, two-bath. 87% did it through an agent, so that's 13% FSBO. That's something to think about, because I know you guys talk a lot about going out there and ambushing and talking to those FSBO people. 13%. Here's the big one. Recommended their agent to another, 89%. You need to talk to these people. You need to talk to people that you've sold to, because 89% of them are gonna talk to somebody who's gonna buy, And- big time. And where are they getting their information? 51% off the internet.
It's actually way higher than that, but yeah.
It could be. I mean, this is as what the NAR says as of last year, but, again, it could be up. Every year, it grows a ton more. Okay, 2 million active agents in the United States. Is that more or less than what you guys thought?
More than I thought.
Number user?
2 million.
2 million.
2 million and 86,000 brokerages.
I put 1 million user.
So what does that mean to you? How does it make you feel knowing there's 2,000 or 2 million of you running around the United States?
Got some competition.
That's a lot of competition.
And if you know about the size of the United States is roughly, call it 400 million people, what does that mean? There's 1 per 200 people out there. Now, I can tell you from Alona going around the neighborhood, it was more like 1 out of 5 said they were an agent, which was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, everybody's an agent.
Or everybody knows an agent. I have a friend in the biz, it's like, well, then how can you use that if this person is your friend?
Don't you want to save that friendship in case things go awry?
Right. Okay, so what does your average agent look like? It's you.
Oh, gosh.
Like her.
Basically, it's a 54-year-old female who attended college.
54.
Is the-
54?
Yeah,
I am not 54. These people are all gonna think I'm 54 years old.
oh, that's a good point. She's not. So according to NAR, now my question is, I don't know how accurate that is. I mean, I agree. I was shocked by that number. I thought it was a little high, but I mean, Sharice, you can tell me about your brokerage here if you feel that's an accurate representation or not.
They have so much data that's collected from so many different areas. Most of what I read was more about like the age of like 32, was the typical, maybe it was more specific to Florida or like maybe our Pinellas County or Pasco County area. It was more like around 30s type thing. At least now, because there's a lot of the younger, like on average, a lot of the younger generations are coming into it now.
Okay. So you see they work an average of 40 hours a week, making less than $40,000 a year. Again, it would be nice if they broke this out by state or county or whatever, and I'm sure they have the data. They're just, from their website, it wasn't that way. All right, so now that we know that there's a lot of opportunity out there, but there's also a lot of competition, and you know basically who your competition is, just take for a second and reflect, how do you think that you can use that to your advantage? Anybody want to start? Comment, question?
I didn't understand the question.
You know that there's millions of homes sold every year, but there's 2 million agents selling those homes. Most of them are using a real estate agent. 89% are using a real estate agent, and they're using the internet to find their home. How can you use that to your advantage? What's going to set you apart?
Facebook Live, social media, getting in front of people that the other realtors aren't.
Mm-hmm.
Making friends.
Okay, Mark? You guys
Just listing homes,
listening?
just listing,
Just constantly listening?
generate, yeah.
Getting better at technology, because technology is what's taking Bob in the field now.
Yeah, it's true. That's a good one. Trace, anything? That's okay. I didn't mean, sorry.
Yes,
You're working.
I'm always
Working.
saying things I want to say.
No,
What was the question?
based on what you know about the real estate market from those last previous slides,
Mhm.
what do you think you should do?
You need to figure out a way to that means right word, distinctify
Mhm.
yourself amongst your competition and how to better understand your market better so you can drive in and hone a certain area and specialize in that and identify yourself as a specialist in those areas.
Okay, that's good. Anybody else, any other things they want to add?
We had to take that back to the technology, because that's what's reaching most people.
Right. I would definitely, if I was gonna add my 2 cents, what I would get from that, and I'm not an agent, and maybe not yet, maybe in the future, but what I look at that, and I think that they're getting a ton of stuff off the internet, and they get a lot of referrals, is to somehow find a way to empower the referrals to use the technology back to me. So if there's a way that I can give my referral people more than just a business card, but something, again, it could be, I'm just guessing, I'm saying things out loud, a web page or something saying, hey, if you get a referral, go here, that kind of thing, or something. Now, granted, we're limited, we can't give quote kickbacks or money for referrals or anything like that because of the rules, but some way to recognize them for what they've done or appreciated, or I don't know, just some way to get to those people. Hi there. What's your name? Keith. Steve.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, yeah, we met like last week, right?
Yeah.
You're in that little corner, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a mirroring exercise. We're not gonna do the actual exercise. But if you go to the reference on my website, and there's a link. When you're talking to people, and you're talking to a prospective client, if you can mimic them, not blatantly, not overtly, but if you can copy their style of language, if you can copy the way that they move, subconsciously, their barriers and resistance to you as a salesperson will slowly come down because they'll see themselves in you. And there's a ton of research, and if you go to that research and read it, it's quite fascinating. They took photos of people running for president, and they slightly modified them and merged them with a photo of the individual. So I took a picture of Charisse, and I took Donald Trump, and I merged the photos together, and then I put them in a group. People picked out that photo as their favorite candidate because they saw themselves, though they didn't realize it was in the photo. So when you mimic people slightly, whether it's for an interview or a sale or even your children, and listen to what they're saying and kind of subtly do what they're doing, people will start to behave differently and start to embrace and accept it.
There's a great Tony Robbins video about that, about like mirror and pace, where he talks about, if your person's loud, you need to be loud. If you're soft and quiet, you sit back, you lean forward. And he does a demonstration about like, just being in a restaurant and being within eye line sight of somebody and literally sitting there copying what they do until you guys are kind of in sync, and then you change it up and you'll see them change it up. It's really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
I'll share that.
tons of research. So go to the reference if you want to see more about that. And there's some really new research that just came out on that, where they did a whole bunch of things, tying a lot of it together. There's a great book by Alan Alda that talks about that, and improv and mimicking and mirroring people. Oops. Okay, Mythbusters. So, extroverts are the best people? No. So that's on your test, question 6. No. And introverts are generally not the best people either. This is true. So, Lorna, how did you score on your test?
That's confusing.
What do you mean, how did I
Did you score introvert, ambivert, or extrovert?
Oh, I'm an ambivert.
Okay, Wayne?
Hold on, I'll say it right now. No, I won't. I don't see it in there.
It
Didn't work.
I'm see if I went to somewhere.
didn't go into an email, it just popped up at the top of the page.
Oh, let me check the application. I remember putting my email in there. Let's see.
Oh, because you signed up for his thing, that's it.
I'm an ambivert.
Okay, great. Victoria?
What?
Are you an ambivert, introvert, or extrovert?
By your test.
I don't know what I am.
Oh, I thought you did. Maybe you missed it.
No.
All right, Frida?
Ambivert.
Ambivert.
Okay, Teresa?
I didn't have a chance to do that.
Okay.
I'm usually an extrovert.
All right, so you see most people are ambiverts.
Go to this.
Never even heard of this ambivert.
So yes, please explain the ambivert.
Okay, I will. All right, That's an ambivert. True ambiverts, as you can see from the research, sell more than anybody else. Here's introverts, and it drops off all of a sudden. If you're a 1, you just don't sell at all. Why? Because you don't ever leave the house. You don't talk to anybody. And you're an extrovert, you're just totally obnoxious. And the research is here.
He's
I told you I think it's subtlety.
Yes. All right, so why do you think that is? Why do you think ambiverts, people in the middle of the spectrum, sell more than people who are introverts and just don't talk, and extroverts who are just totally obnoxious?
Because they're mirroring the
Yeah.
ambiverts. Everybody's an ambivert, so you're mirroring the same.
Exactly.
Wow.
You are like everybody else.
Yeah.
You're fitting that pattern. Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay. Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
But the people online don't know what that said.
Oh, well, basically what Mark said, that people sell to ambiverts are successful because you're ambiverts selling to ambiverts. Okay, so how many days did it take to behavior become or action become a habit?
21.
I think it's 14.
Here's the clue.
66.
66 days. Yep. Shocking, isn't it? So again,
For it to really stick.
what's that? I missed it.
6 days, because it says it takes how many hours? Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, because I took having more than.
All right, so again, here's the research. The biggest point is that when you're gonna start something, if you know this ahead of time, if you know that it's gonna take you a couple months to make it a habit, you gotta stick with it. And they said that the beginning is the most important part, is to go ahead and start building a routine early and really do everything you can to stick to that. You'll have a greater chance of success. So you see on their test, they found with sit-ups, and then they found it with running and then drinking a glass of water every day. But the average was 66, and again, it was a recent study. So it's shocking because most people have this thing that only takes 2 weeks, but I don't know if you're like me, I've done things for 2 weeks and I still forget, like taking my pills every day. I've done that for 3 years and I still forget.
I think maybe people just say that the 21 days to try and get you in that habit and then make it not seem so like daunting for some people.
Right.
Like, oh, we just tough this out, and the hope is that they'll still keep going. But I think in reality, I definitely see the 66 days because it
Right.
forces you to continue doing that. So you're going to implement it more often.
So the next part's gonna be interesting. We'll get you in just a second. Anybody else have any comment on this, 66 days?
Is that continuous days, no days off?
Correct.
No cheat days.
No cheat days.
I did a course with cabin water, and it was 66 days.
Yeah,
And I practiced like every morning. I'm up at 5 o'clock, and I have to do my exercise, and I have to do this. And so far, I've been keeping up with it, and that's about 5 months ago.
all right, see,
So my 66 days, I'm sticking to it.
that's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Another movie. Hopefully I'll pull it up.
Hi, everyone. 2 years ago, my life changed forever.
I don't know what it's showing. Well, you can just, you want to listen or you want to see the video? I can fix it probably real quick. It's very visual. We're a visual species, so. So take a quick break.
So while he's doing that, in case anybody was wondering why this gentleman is so familiar, that's because he's my husband. Oh.
Oh. That's pretty fun.
Trying to fill the gap, honey.
Yeah, and she's not 54.
3.5.
No, see, now you got him thinking of it. No, I'm pretty sure I'm 54.
50 is not old.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm not positive. How old are you?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, that's how I'm gonna know how old I am.
I'll be 51.
Then I'm 51.
How long you guys been married? Since you want to feel the gap.
How long have we been married?
Come on, I'm trying to work here. You're supposed to be.
We've been married almost 8 years.
Oh, awesome.
Well, the first time you married for love, right? The second time for money.
Yeah,
So I'm waiting for the money to come
I was coming.
in.
I thought that's why you were a real estate agent now. Help with that.
You should have.
All right. So to reload it and then I'll be able to play it.
So my phone isn't ringing this morning.
Did you pay the bill?
I'm quite perturbed.
Who was supposed to be calling you this morning?
Buyers,
Right?
what is up?
Have you started your marketing?
No, I just put it up there last night.
Yeah, give us a second. Suck it up.
It's like noon or something, isn't it? They've had plenty of time.
Okay, here we go. Oop.
Hi, everyone. 2 years ago, my life changed forever. My wife Kelsey and I welcomed our daughter Leela into the world. Now, becoming a parent is an amazing, amazing experience. Your whole world changes overnight, and all of your priorities change immediately, so fast that it makes it really difficult to process sometimes. Now, you also have to learn a tremendous amount about being a parent. Like, for example, how to dress your child. This was new to me. This is an actual outfit. I thought this was a good idea. And even Leela knows that it's not a good idea. So there was so much to learn and so much craziness all at once. And to add to the craziness, Kelsey and I both work from home. We're entrepreneurs. We run our own businesses. So Kelsey is develops courses online for yoga teachers. I'm an author. And so I'm working from home. Kelsey's working from home. We have an infant, and we're trying to make sure that everything gets done that needs done. And life is really, really, really busy. And a couple weeks into this amazing experience, when the sleep deprivation really kicked in, like around week 8, I had this thought, and it was the same thought that parents across the ages internationally, everybody has had this thought, which is, I am never going to have free time ever again. And somebody said it's true. Yeah, it's not exactly true, but it feels really, really true in that moment. And this was really disconcerting to me, because one of the things that I enjoy more than anything else is learning new things. Getting curious about something and diving in and fiddling around and learning through trial and error and eventually becoming pretty good at something. And without this free time, I didn't know how I was ever going to do that ever again. And so I'm a big geek. I want to keep learning things. I want to keep growing. And so what I decided to do was go to the library and go to the bookstore and look at what research says about how we learn and how we learn quickly. And I read a bunch of books, I read a bunch of websites, and trying to answer this question: how long does it take to acquire a new skill? You know what I found? 10,000 hours. Anybody ever heard this? 10,000. Takes 10,000 hours. If you want to learn something new, if you want to be good at it, it's going to take 10,000 hours to get there.
It's not.
And I read this book after book and website after website, and my mental experience of reading all of this stuff was like, no, I don't have time. I don't have 10,000 hours. I am never going to be able to learn anything new ever again. But that's not true. So 10,000 hours, just to give you a rough order of magnitude, 10,000 hours is a full-time job for 5 years. That's a long time. And we've all had the experience of learning something new, and it didn't take us anywhere close to that amount of time, right? So what's up? There's something kind of funky going on here. What the research says and what we expect and have experiences, they don't match up. And what I found, here's the wrinkle. The 10,000 hour rule came out of studies of expert level performance. There's a professor at Florida State University, his name is K. Anders Ericsson. He's the originator of the 10,000 hour rule. And where that came from is he studied professional athletes, world-class musicians, chess grandmasters, all of these ultra-competitive folks in ultra-high-performing fields, and he tried to figure out how long does it take to get to the top of those kinds of fields. And what he found is the more deliberate practice, the more time that those individuals spent practicing the elements, whatever it is that they do, the more time you spend, the better you get. And the folks at the tippy top of their fields put in around 10,000 hours of practice. Now, we're talking about the game of telephone a little bit earlier. Here's what happened. An author by the name of Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book in 2007 called Outliers, the Story of Success. And the centerpiece of that book was the 10,000 hour rule. Practice a lot, practice well, and you will do extremely well. You reach the top of your field. So the message, what Dr. Ericsson was actually saying is, it takes 10,000 hours to get to the top of an ultra-competitive field in a very narrow subject. That's what that means. But here's what happened. Ever since the Outliers came out, immediately came out, reached the top of the bestseller list, stayed there for 3 solid months. All of a sudden, the 10,000 hour rule was everywhere. And a society-wide game of telephone started to be played. So this message, it takes 10,000 hours to reach the top of an ultra-competitive field, became, it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert. Which became, it takes 10,000 hours to become good at something. Which became, it takes 10,000 hours to learn something. But that last statement, it takes 10,000 hours to learn something, it's not true. It's not true. So, what the research actually says, if I spent a lot of time here at the CSU library in the cognitive psychology stacks because I'm a geek. And when you actually look at the studies of skill acquisition, you see over and over and over a graph like this. Now, researchers, whether they're studying a motor skill, something you do physically, or a mental skill, they like to study things that they can time, because you can quantify that, right? So they'll give research participants a little task, something that requires visual arrangement, or something that requires learning a little mental trick. And they'll time how long a participant takes to complete the skill. And here's what this graph says. When you start, so when researchers gave participants a task, it took them a really long time because it was new and they were horrible. With a little bit of practice, they get better and better and better. And that early part of practice is really, really efficient. People get good at things with just a little bit of practice. Now, what's interesting to note is that if, we don't really, for skills that we want to learn for ourselves, we don't care so much about time, right? We just care about how good we are, whatever good happens to mean. So if we relabel performance time to how good you are, the graph flips. And you get this famous and widely known, this is the learning curve. And the story of the learning curve is when you start, you're grossly incompetent and you know it, right? With a little bit of practice, you get really good really quick. So that early level of improvement is really fast. And then at a certain point, you reach a plateau, and the subsequent gains become much harder to get. They take more time to get. my question is, I want that, right? How long does it take from starting something and being grossly incompetent and knowing it to being reasonably good in hopefully as short a period of time as possible? So, how long does that take? Here's what my research says. 20 hours. That's it. You can go from knowing nothing about any skill that you can think of. Want to learn language? Want to learn how to draw? Want to learn how to juggle flaming chainsaws? If you put 20 hours of focused, deliberate practice into that thing, you will be astounded at how good you are. 20 hours is doable. That's about 45 minutes a day for about a month. Even skipping a couple days here and there. 20 hours isn't that hard to accumulate. Now, there's a method to doing this, because it's not like you can just start fiddling around for about 20 hours and expect these massive improvements. There's a way to practice intelligently. There's a way to practice efficiently that will make sure that you invest those 20 hours in the most effective way that you possibly can. And here's the method. It applies to anything. The first is to deconstruct the skill. Decide exactly what you want to be able to do when you're done. And then look into the skill and break it down into smaller and smaller pieces. Most of the things that we think of as skills are actually big bundles of skills that require all sorts of different things. The more you can break apart the skill, the more you're able to decide what are the parts of this skill that will actually help me get to what I want. And then you can practice those first. And if you practice the most important things first, you'll be able to improve your performance in the least amount of time possible. The second is learn enough to self-correct. So get 3 to 5 resources about what it is you're trying to learn. Could be books, could be DVDs, could be courses, could be anything. But don't use those as a way to procrastinate on practice. I know I do this, right? Get like 20 books about the topics, like, I'm gonna start learning how to program a computer when I complete these 20 books. No, that's procrastination. What you want to do is learn just enough that you can actually practice and self-correct or self-edit as you practice. So the learning becomes a way of getting better at noticing when you're making a mistake and then doing something a little different. The third is to remove barriers to practice. Distractions, television, internet, all of these things that get in the way of you actually sitting down and doing the work. And the more you're able to use just a little bit of willpower to remove the distractions that are keeping you from practicing, the more likely you are to actually sit down and practice, right? And fourth is to practice for at least 20 hours. Now, most skills have what I call a frustration barrier. You know, the grossly incompetent knowing it part, that's really, really frustrating. We don't want to feel stupid. And feeling stupid is a barrier to us actually sitting down and doing the work. So by pre-committing to practicing whatever it is that you want to do for at least 20 hours, you will be able to overcome that initial frustration barrier and stick with the practice long enough to actually reap the rewards. All right, that's it. It's not rocket science. 4 very simple steps that you can use to learn anything. Now, this is easy to talk about in theory, but it's more fun to talk about in practice. So one of the things that I've wanted to learn how to do for a long time is play the ukulele. Has anybody seen Jake Shimabukuro's TED Talk where he plays the ukulele and makes it sound like he's like a ukulele god? It's amazing. It's like I saw this, like, that's so cool. It's such a neat instrument. I would really like to learn how to play. And so I decided that to test this theory, I wanted to put 20 hours into practicing the ukulele and see where we got. And so the first thing about playing the ukulele is in order to practice, you have to have one, right? So I had ukulele, and my lovely assistant, thanks you, sir. I think I need the cord here. It's not just an ukulele, it's an electric ukulele. Yeah. So the first couple hours, and just like the first couple of hours of anything, you have to get the tools that you're using to practice. You have to make sure that they're available. My ukulele didn't come with strings attached. I had to figure out how to put those on. Like, that's kind of important, right? And learning how to tune and learning how to make sure that all of the things that need to be done in order to start practicing get done, right? Now, one of the things when I was ready to actually start practicing was I looked in online databases and songbooks for how to play songs. And they say, okay, ukuleles, you can play more than one string at a time, so you can play chords, that's cool, you're accompanying yourself, yay you. And when I started looking at songs, I had an ukulele chord book that had hundreds of chords. Looking at this thing, like, whoa, that's intimidating. But when you look at the actual songs, you see the same chords over and over, right? As it turns out, playing ukulele is kind of like doing anything. There's a very small set of things that are really important and techniques that you'll use all the time. And so in most songs, you'll use 4, maybe 5 chords, and that's it. That's the song. You don't have to know the hundreds, as long as you know the 4 or the 5. So while I was doing my research, I found a wonderful little medley of pop songs by a band called Axis of Awesome. And somebody knows it. And what Axis of Awesome says is that you can learn, or you can play pretty much any pop song of the past 5 decades if you know 4 chords. And those chords are G, D, E minor, C. 4 chords, pop out every pop song ever, right? So I thought, this is cool. I'd like to play every pop song ever. So that was the first song I decided to learn. I'd like to actually share it with you. Ready? Okay. Just a small town girl living in a lonely world, and I'm train going everywhere. I heard that you settled down, found a girl that you're married now. Every night in my dreams I see you, I feel you. That's just how I know we'll go on. I won't hesitate no more. It's cannot wait, I'm yours. 'Cause you are amazing. We do amazing things. If I could, then I would go wherever you will. Can you feel the love tonight? With or without you. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. Sometimes I feel like I don't have a partner. No woman to cry, I'm on the shoulder, is a dream. I'm over another. Also, Charlie Swag Man can't fly up in the lawn. Hey, I just met you. It's crazy. It's like a bear. Call me. Hey, yeah. Whoa, that's hard. Say goodbye. Closing time. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning. I love that song. And I have a secret to share with you. So by playing that song for you, I just hit my 20th hour of practicing the ukulele. so it's amazing, pretty much anything that you can think of. What do you want to do? The major barrier to learning something new is not intellectual. It's not the process of you learning a bunch of little tips or tricks or things. The major barrier is emotional. We're scared. Feeling stupid doesn't feel good. In the beginning of learning anything new, you feel really stupid. So the major barrier is not intellectual, it's emotional. But put 20 hours into anything. Doesn't matter. What do you want to learn? Do you want to learn language? Do you want to learn how to cook? Do you want to learn how to draw? What turns you on? What lights you up? Go out and do that then. It only takes 20 hours. Have fun. Great job.
So what do you think?
That was awesome. 20 hours seems a lot more achievable.
No. No. If you want to learn more, get on the website. There's a link to his books, to his website, and stuff like that. He's got a couple books out about it. Goes in more details. All right, question. How much time do you guys spend prospecting?
Not enough.
I don't know.
So give me a number. Victoria, how much time?
I spend like per week, maybe 10 hours.
Okay.
And the thing about it that knocked me off my way is when someone closes the door in my face.
Yeah.
And then I don't want to go back.
Yeah. Understand. Well, that's like what Alec Baldwin was saying to that guy in that first movie, is if you can't handle me yelling at you, how are you going to handle the rejection you get on the calls?
Yeah,
So
it's
when-
true.
I would say maybe 10 to 20% of the day. I do a lot. I work at a restaurant, so I'm passing out cards and talking to customers there. I do make some phone calls, but next week will be different. So this Sunday will be my last day at my other job, and I'll be full-time real estate. So
Nice, congratulations.
Oh, good for you.
Along.
That's awesome. Well, it says a percentage of your workday. Well, right now, because I'm just starting my business, I spend almost half of my time making calls or researching, so I put 40%.
I'd probably put in 10 hours a week.
Not that much.
Yeah.
Like, well, it depends, like, I don't do that focus kind of prospecting where you sit down and call.
$1 for dollars.
Yeah, so I just like talk to everybody.
Right.
Like if I'm talking to a client, I'm like asking for a referral, talk to somebody else, asking for a referral, is that considered prospecting?
Yeah.
Or you have to meet all.
Yeah, no, yeah. Just actively trying to get customers.
Okay, yeah.
I would say just 10%.
Okay.
I hate going on the telephone and asking.
Oh, yeah, everybody hates
I hate the rejection.
And I will not knock on the door, I just decided to come on the start.
it. All right, so let's look at this. Research shows that 36% of the time people in sales actually prospect. Just 30%, 6% of their day, of their work day. So if you do a part-time, if you add up like an 8-hour period, 36%, that's it. The rest of the time is doing stupid things like tasks or coming to training here, with travel or wasting.
So 7% of the time people are wasted, is that what you
It's
said?
Some people are more, some people are less. All right, so the question is why? What is your reason that you don't prospect more? So let's go back around. Victoria, why don't you spend more time prospecting?
Like I said, I don't like rejection.
Okay.
That is the thing. And then I will say, there's a lot of weeds in my garden. I need to weed my garden. So I spend more time. I think I would enjoy, in my garden than going out and prospecting.
And you mean literally?
Yes.
Garden? Oh.
Because I was thinking the same thing. It's a great metaphor.
Analogy.
Yeah. Because if you're looking at a garden, you got to pull pull out the weeds to get the thing to grow. It's the same with prospecting. If you don't go through the weeds, you're never gonna get to the fruit.
If you say, instead of prospecting, like you're actually looking at your grass and I need to pull these weeds?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It's called being distracted.
Yeah, that's why I try to run out the house so I don't have to wash the dishes.
Like, I'm gonna go prospecting for this.
I'm working.
I spend most of my time right now working on like a lead generation system. I'm just creating a bot, and then hopefully when all that's in place, then I'm gonna start spending, I don't know, 70-80% of my time prospecting.
Nice.
I just need to get there.
Well, I know you're already at 40%, but you know.
I'm making calls based on leads that were given to me through the office and everything I've done pretty much.
But why
because of
don't you
that.
spend more? I know you're spending time, but
Why don't I spend more?
you think you do enough?
No,
Okay, then why not?
because I really like chilling.
Wasting. Okay.
I like wasting time.
Well, I like it.
I know, I feel like I now have scheduled my day out. I feel like I work really hard when I'm working. And then I'm done. Well, until after dinner. and then
All right,
I'm
but
going.
that doesn't answer the question. You said you want to spend more time, but you're giving every reason other than why you don't spend more time.
See, that's not fair, you can't lie to me.
He knows.
It's over.
He's on to you.
So why do I spend more time?
You said you want to spend more time. Why don't
Well, shit, I don't know.
you?
I
Okay.
mean, that's fair.
Mark?
It's funny. I like working with people. I like, taking people out to show. I love the job itself. But why don't I prospect enough to get those people? Because it's just uncomfortable. It's
Oh. I
Yeah.
thought of mine.
just uncomfortable. It's hard for me to do. Like when I get my mindset, I like door knocking. And when I get that mindset, I'll go out and I'll pound doors. Like it's no problem. But it's getting to that point.
That's that motivation thing.
It's that motivation thing. Once I get out and I'm doing it, I'm good. But
Okay.
it's just it's uncomfortable for me.
All right.
You need to figure why, it sounds like. The reason that you're doing that.
We'll
You ever
get
done
to
like a vision? Okay.
Hold
Go ahead.
hold that thought, though. We're gonna get to it.
So the question is, why don't you do more, right? I need more, I don't know. I have no reason. And I think I know I can do more, but it's just that, I kind of like, it might not be pulling the weeds, but for some reason, we find other things to do.
Okay,
Yeah.
I go by rejection.
okay.
I don't go out knocking the door and get rejection. I just can't understand.
Nobody likes rejection. I mean, right there, 40% of salespeople said prospecting is the most challenging part of their job, okay? And what I say, scientific studies say that prospecting sucks. Okay, there is something that you can do about prospecting, an issue. Okay, so I had these printed out. One of the ways to make yourself prospect more is to have discipline. And using time management as your discipline tool has shown to increase productivity to go from 39% to 55% prospecting by following a time management principle and sticking to it. So if you follow this guideline, follow this, and set your prospecting schedule to this, you will see a big uptick. Now, what's the benefits of more prospecting? More money. Right,
Money.
so you're paying yourself. So if you work it and then get in the habit, and again, it only takes 20 hours to be an expert, and it'll take some time before it becomes routine, you will be more successful. You will have more sales. So if you click this link, you'll actually see the research behind this, and it's been scientifically proven. Using time management results in more productivity, which in turn leads to almost everybody meeting their sales quota on average throughout industries. Where the failure rate for not is like 63%. So there's a greater chance of success, greater meeting your own internal quota, because you guys are all independent contractors. but you all have independent, your own dreams and ambitions and where you want to be with this job. This is why you chose it. You wanted freedom, you wanted flexibility, you have visions of whatever it may be, a new house, a new car, a better life, or just spending money to go on vacation or whatever it may be. If you want to get those, it's going to take work. It's not just going to, happen. Time management is a way to make that happen. So everybody knows who Dale Carnegie is, or if you don't know, it's one of the top foremost thinkers in business. Questions, comments about that? Exciting, good tool? Like it?
Yeah, I have one comment for you guys. Most everything I've just read in here sounds kind of familiar. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, just put it out there. Like, I remember saying this last week, and I remember saying this in the last class.
That looks just like her.
Just saying. I'm not the only one saying it.
Nope. Okay. So the trust issue. So 54% of people would rather trust their friends, 45% would trust a stranger as a referral, 39% would trust their company's website or a flyer. What do you think it is for trusting the salesperson?
1, 0.
19, but it's just like one.
19%. You know who that guy is, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. That's Harry.
John McCain's boy.
Yeah. Harry Booby Ellis. Yep. So it's pretty sad. 19%. 1 out of 5. Now, generally in the larger class, I divide the class up and I have 19% stand on one side and everybody else stands on the other. And you all look at the small group and realize that's a very small group compared to all of us. That group represents the lack of trust. It's pretty sad that they'll trust an unknown stranger as a referral, which could be you at the same time that you're the salesperson. But the moment they find out it's a salesperson, the trust cuts in half from 45 to 19. That is bad. That means they just hate people in sales. It's something else.
What's
All right.
that?
Well, because people like him,
Take advantage.
people who are slimy and scummy and push things on people that they don't want, and it just, sell them just sell them things that aren't true. They get a bad rap.
All it takes is a few to ruin it for the bunch.
Now,
I mean, everybody's been taken at one time or another.
Yep.
And so,
who's this guy? What does he sell?
He's from the original Die Hard movie,
Okay.
so it's hard to explain, but he's just a character in the movie, and he's a real slime ball.
Oh,
So he's like the slime ball salesman that nobody trusts.
he ends up getting shot.
okay.
You don't see it, but you hear it, because it's radio, not TV, as he said. All right. I don't know why the font's coming up kind of weird, but anyway, okay. So again, we saw earlier that 51% of people are researching the internet before they buy. Further, 57 decided before they even began. 57% complete the buy and purchase prior to starting. So they've already researched, they know what they want to buy, they know where they're going to go, and then they do it. That's me. Before I buy anything, I research the hell out of it. I look at the ratings, I read reviews. I mean, it could be sticky notes, and I'm looking at which one's the best. I've gotten, like you talked about getting taken advantage of. But even if it's not a salesperson, it's a company or a website, if I'm not familiar with them or their products, I'm going to go check. And anything, to me personally, anything less than 4 stars, I generally don't buy.
Yeah.
And if it's got less than 50 reviews, I don't buy it. I don't want to be the first, because I don't want to be the guy giving it a half star because it came busted or broke or didn't work or it was whatever.
Unless it's an Apple device, and then you want to be the first.
Maybe.
First break.
This last time, I was on Amazon looking for a hose, garden hose. And I went from Amazon to eBay, back to Amazon, reading the
I was looking for
reviews.
the bad reviews. I would go for the high stars, and then I tried to find the bad. I want
Exactly.
the bad. Oh, the good ones.
Exactly. I look at the top ratings and then I click sort by worst and I start looking, what are the reasons for it to be worst?
Yeah.
now.
If it's something just bitching,
Yeah.
I discredit it. If it's like it arrived in 3 pieces, couldn't get them on the phone, and then I get another one like that, gone.
Yeah.
And there's a psychology about if you want to make yourself more appealing, tell somebody something about you that's a defect, because they're more apt to believe you versus thinking you're just full of yourself.
Well, that's that Wolf of Wall Street thing where he said, I don't want you to judge me on my winners, judge me on my losers because there's so few.
Right. Yep. Exactly. That's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So 89% of customers talk to somebody they know or get a referral from somebody they don't know in their buying decision process.
84.
I'm sorry, 84. Yes. 84. So that's huge. That tells you what?
If you do a good job, people will refer you.
We'll get to that part. But that's true. Yep. And what else?
Better be asking people for business.
Yep.
For referrals.
Yep.
Since we so
Spend time
glad,
listening to your peers.
who do you know thinking about buying or selling a home that I can help?
Okay, so here's the catch. Just a little over half feel that loyalty to you comes from the salesman. Again, they don't like salesmen. So even if you do a great job, you're only at a 50-50 chance if they're going to be loyal to you in the future. So you got to do everything you can to constantly stay in front of them and follow up, and not just be, I'm only following up because I want a referral from you.
So we have the drip campaigns, the monthly newsletters, all those things.
When your customers, you've already sold them on
Right.
you. You've done the hardest part.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you let them go?
Right.
That's your low hanging fruit for the
Yeah.
future.
I try to tell you guys, it's a pipeline business. You keep filling your pipeline, and if you do your business right and you set it up correctly, like for me, I have not actually pursued real estate like intentionally for like the last year and a half, but I've already had like 10 closings. And they were all from repeat customers, referrals, all those things, people that have had my pipeline from like 3 years ago. Sure, you remember me? Yeah, sure.
It's the brand of you. Coca-Cola doesn't advertise once a year and then for the other 364 days drop off the planet. You see them in every store, their products, Budweiser, Ford. I mean, you know they're out there. Then why do they keep doing it? To keep you in their mind, to keep them in your mind. I'm sorry. So you need to do the same thing. You need to send birthday cards. You need to say, hey, how's it going? How's the new house? You've been there for 6 months. What's the neighborhood like? I'd like some feedback because I got people interested in the neighborhood. Give them whatever reason, give them a call. Hey, just touching base with you. How's it going? How's the new house? You enjoying everything? It work out good? How did you think of the letters? It's good. Just gives you an excuse to keep your name in their mind versus, who did I get from? Oh, some guy from someplace or, whatever. No, you want them to say, hey, I use Alona, I use Wayne, I use Victoria, Freedom Mark, whatever. So you got to brand yourself. It's not a one-time shot. It's too big of a commission check to just be one and done. Most people only keep a house for, I think it's like, 7 years? 7 years?
At the most, yeah, usually.
So that means you have another big payday coming in 7 years. Unless you let it go because you don't spend a few minutes, and this is not cold calling. This is somebody you already know. You're not going to get rejected.
And I'll share with you guys a great example. He's not in here right now, but I know we've talked about this before, where Keith recently had a sale. A guy bought this house cash in his neighborhood, and it was just a little less than a year ago. And he was driving through the neighborhood, and he's like noticing different cars at the house now. And so he's like, oh, that's kind of strange. So he calls him, and the guy says, yeah, I've already sold that house and went and bought a 500,000 square foot or a 5,000 square foot other home. And he's like, it's been less than a year. He said, see, you didn't follow up with your client after. He's like, but it was only a year. I'm like, you shouldn't be waiting a year to be calling your client.
So
You have to brand yourself. Brand,
Because he
brand,
didn't
brand.
stay top of mind, he didn't continue to follow up, he dropped the ball after the sale. And this is where you like, this is like all the time, you go there, you do a phenomenal job for these people, you go above and beyond, and then you just drop it. Like, you already did all the work, it takes a 2-minute call, maybe once a quarter, and then you should be doing like monthly newsletters or something like that to them at the same
People are
time.
weird, man. They just ditch you for,
Yeah, loyalty is gone.
it's,
You have to brand yourself so at least you have a fighting chance.
Mhm.
Are they gonna be loyal to you? No, not necessarily, but you may get an opportunity that they'll think of you. That's it. I send personalized, handwritten thank you cards for when I get a referral.
Oh, we preach that hard on here.
You know, I don't type them out, I handwrite them in my crappy handwriting, because at least it's legible, and they'll get it, they'll see that I actually took time to write it.
No, we just.
Stuck it in the mail. Okay, next up. Okay. All right. So how long does it take to make a friend? 40 to 60 hours from a casual friendship, 80 to 100 to become really good friends, to 200 hours to become, or sorry, 200 hours to be friends.
Oh, wow. No wonder I don't have any friends.
I was gonna say,
Doesn't have time.
let's say it takes me longer than that.
Who got time for that?
She's too busy wasting time, you know, prospecting or something. Okay. Build a relationship with the customers, but it's gonna take time. Again, we talk about why is loyalty not there? Probably because you didn't spend 40 to 60 hours. Do you have 40 to 60 hours to spend with every customer? No. But maybe over time, if you keep the conversation going, keep them on the phone, you can build a relationship and eventually get to a status where you're their friend in the business that they keep talking about when you talk to them. When I sold jewelry, I heard that all the time, and I was a smart ass. I mean, I want to tell you stories. I was a smart ass. And I would tell them all the time, you have a friend in the business, and why are you standing here? Go get your friend, I'll wait. And they'd be like, what? You know, I was such a smart ass. I mean, I almost got tacked, beat up at times, because I was really young. I was in my 20s. I was the store manager for one of the largest jewelry stores in the country in West Palm Beach, Florida. And I've had people come in and say stupid things to me and be like, I want to see the manager. And I'd be like, ta-da! And they one guy helped me saying, you know, fuck you. And I was like, what, you flirting with me? And then he literally jumped over the counter. We had in-store cops and they grabbed him. But my point is, just build relationships with people, spend time, get your brand out there. All right, so we have an exercise, so we're gonna participate in it. All right, so let me see here. How are we gonna do this? Well, I guess,
If it's all, I'm gonna have to.
okay, fine. Okay, so you turn around, turn around. You guys work together. You work together. Wait. Okay. So here's the exercise. So you guys looking up at the board, you can see what it says. You just kind of go through the list, pick and choose. The goal is, and I'm gonna use Mark as an example. So Mark, come over here. Mark is gonna say, it's a hot day. And you guys on this side are gonna add to that conversation. So Lona might say something like, and I really don't wanna go outside. And Mark's gonna say, and I need to walk my dog. And just keep going back and forth, and if it fails and falls apart, and you end up killing it, move on to a different one. So the idea is to keep a conversation going. Make sense? Questions? I'm a little puzzled. Not sure.
So they get to see it and we don't.
Well, it's only
Well, it's
because
just
I-
the initial, yeah.
Oh,
You're telling a story
It's
together.
just starting off the conversation.
Are you doing it all together?
You're doing it as a team.
Okay, now, when it goes dead, that's when we move on to the next.
Yeah, just
one.
pick a different one. Doesn't have to be the next one in the line. Just pick
Okay.
something.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So,
before we start, I just want you to know I am there.
Okay.
Right, it's my friend.
Yeah. Maybe I'll bring my dog.
No, see, I already lost it.
Those are just ideas.
Yeah, I like
I
that.
don't know how on Saturday. What time is yours?
My God.
Yeah, a couple times.
Mine's,
One that's on the garden.
you done, you have to-
One that's on the garden.
Better not.
Yes.
Today's coach, mine's in New York. Cypress Lakes.
You probably have seen it before.
What happens?
46, yeah, barely 40.
Right next door.
46, 38, barely 40.
Oh, so you-
6.5.
okay.
I think of my.
I know this is so well.
Right off Little Road,
So how does it come?
right next to the Mitchell soccer field.
I have no problem on Saturday.
Oh, you do?
Oh,
You must
okay,
be
that's
really-
right.
Yes.
You
Oh,
also-
yeah, when I first started business.
You like business now?
And that whole.
No.
Yes.
Oh, they-
Alright, well, good luck with the open house.
Good luck.
You buying Cypress Lakes?
I think good luck, is it hard?
So you got Cypress Lakes, Deer Park, right?
Yeah,
You buy-
You got that.
I grew up there. Oh, yeah, we were all buying.
Oh, yeah.
I graduated eighth
You
grade.
go to have
I lived in New Park.
Yeah.
That's what I went to. That's really.
I actually, I used
That's
to
a
spend
good
more
way.
hours.
Oh.
That's
my way to
When the kids were, I mean, they weren't at
They do.
I find that I really will.
So you know, when I graduated, it was just golf.
Yeah.
I bring my gold.
I've been.
All right, we're gonna end this.
We're already walking.
That's right, we're gonna end.
Good times, you know?
Yeah. It kind of works, you know, I mean, yeah.
Okay, so did you discover something new and interesting about the other person?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Now you guys know
It
each other.
really didn't take long.
You should, exactly, it shouldn't take long to build a connection with a complete stranger and have a conversation to uncover things. You build connections, you build familiarity. Build familiarity, you start building a foundation of friendship. So, does that make sense? All right, so I'm gonna do one. So, has anybody been in the military before? No. Has anybody lived outside of Florida before?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, everybody. So there's one connection we have to get. Okay. Anybody have kids?
Yeah.
Okay. 2 connections. Anybody have a pet?
Yeah.
Anybody not have a pet?
Yeah.
Okay. So half and half. So we almost have another connection. So we'll put it half and half over here. Married.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have another connection. So as you see, really quickly, you can build connections with people, but some of them are more extreme. You guys were talking about you live near each other, you know, both high and all these other things. You can rapidly build rapport, build that connection. Again, building that friendship by just striking conversation and just talking. Even though it's awkward at first and you guys were laughing, but you're working. As long as you actually make the effort, you'll start to come to something in common.
But you notice that people are not very, what's the word I'm looking for? They just don't hold it together.
Approachable.
No. Like for instance, if I start a conversation with someone,
People are busy.
I call you, and they never call.
Well, that's on the phone. We're talking in person.
No, what I'm saying is we meet.
Right.
We talk.
Right.
We started establishing a relationship there.
Right.
And then when we leave, he said, I'll call you.
Right.
And then I'm doing the calling and never respond to do the call. Now we're trying to set up a appointment. Let's go for coffee. Okay, we'll go for coffee. And you don't see that.
I understand, and that's all. You're right, and that happens all
And
the
that's
time.
loyal. That's a
Trust, they don't trust you.
No, I get it. I honestly do, because I have a lot of friends who never call me, but I always call them. I'm the one that's always calling. Only one of my friends, Scott, calls me. Everybody else, I have to call them.
And you don't answer the phone when he calls you.
That's not true. Anyway, you're right, but you just have to keep working. And the point exercise is if you're in line at Publix or you're waiting for whatever, or you're walking the dogs at the dog park and you see somebody else, you can strike up a conversation, find things in common, and from there start building something. And then you can say, by the way, I'm a realtor. If you're in the market or interested in whatever, you don't have to jump on them as a realtor first thing, because then they're like, oh God, it's a sales guy or a girl or whatever. You don't want to do that. You don't want that to be the first thing you're saying. Okay. How much time do we have? Only a few minutes. Okay. I don't know if anybody's online. If they are, it says people do not decide their futures. They decide the habits, and the habits decide their futures. So if you don't make a habit of prospecting, guess what? Your future is going to be pretty bleak. Okay, so the power of habit. Another link, great book on habits. So if you get a reward, routine of prospecting, you get the reward, you get a deal, you close a house, which is excitement, which is like, okay, that worked before, let me do that again, and you just keep doing this. Once you do this over and over and over, it becomes a habit. And it takes approximately 66 days for things to become a habit. But when you've done this in the past, when you've had a system, whatever job you've been at, has this ever broke down for you? And when does it break down? Who breaks it down? What happens?
Maybe you want
It's gonna break down when you don't get that reward.
or when you get
Oh,
out
yeah.
of routine,
Right, and,
when you get out of routine.
okay, like you move or career change or position change or a new boss. Any others? Here's what it's, I know you wouldn't have the answer, is when you lose the passion. When you just like, you know what, I am so burnt out. I am so done. I know that I can get a sale. I know what I have to do. I've done it before. I'm just done.
But sometimes it's not really burnt out, it's like, I've tried enough and I'm not getting any yes, then just feel like giving up.
That's a different thing, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah, you get discouraged because you're not getting anywhere.
Right.
I'm saying when it is working and you eventually get to a point, you want to get off the treadmill. You don't want to be inside the little habit trail thing that the little mouse is running his little miles an hour. You want to break that. So usually if you get to this point in real estate, okay, well then maybe you can just retire. But if you get to this point and you really want to know what can you do it with Wayne said. Change your environment. If your habit is to come in here, like Alona has an office here, if she comes in here and she does it every day, eventually it's like, you know what, change the environment. Do it from home. Do it from the beach. Do it somewhere different. Change your environment to give yourself new energy, new things. Set yourself a different reward. Saying, you know what, my goal is, instead of saying, okay, I'm going to get $5,000 for this house, or is when I sell $1 million house, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to buy myself a Rolex, or I'm going to buy my wife a diamond earrings.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Change the reward. Change something about this that you can then go back at it and say, you know what, this is why I'm doing it. I'm sure you talked before about the why thing. I don't know if we're going to have time to cover all that. Running out of time. Okay. So how do you do that? Powerful statement is if, when, then. Remember that. If, when, then. Those three words will change your life.
If, when,
And then
then.
change your life. All right. So Robert, I can't pronounce his last name right. Cialdini. He's written a couple books. He's a doctor of psychology. I highly recommend that you read this book. It will shock you. He's got a couple books. One's called Influence. It's one side of the equation, and Persuasion is the other side. If / then when. Keep what I was saying is this statement will change your life. So what you do is set yourself a goal. If I do this, then I will get this. If I make 20 calls, then I can go take a break. If I prospect and knock on 50 doors in the neighborhood, then I can call it a successful day. If I choose not, if you're on a diet, if I don't eat that cake, then after a week of not having any treats, I will have one cake. Or like me, I've gotten to become a really terrible soda drinker in the last couple of years. I've gone from bad to like really bad, which is horrible, and I've put on a lot of weight. I need to tell myself, instead of drinking soda, if I want a soda, drink water. Then at the end of the week, if I've had none, I can reward myself and have one day that I have soda. Statements like that. It's a powerful statement. There's a psychology behind it. And if you tell yourself this, and it's like a mantra that you keep saying over and over again, all I gotta do is if I get 20 calls, I'm down to 15, I have 10 left, I got 5 left, I've done it. Then
That's what I do. I actually
That
get
works.
all the calls that I'm gonna make, and I take a break about every hour for a few minutes, and I turn my radio up, and then I go back to it, and I won't leave if I can get away with it until I have called that last call.
So it says, how it says in there, and again, there's a link to that, 2 to 3 times more likely to achieve their goal. 2 to 3 times, not 10%, not 20, 2 to 3 times more likely to reach their goal. So if your goal is to prospect 2 hours a day because you haven't been prospecting enough, do this and then keep doing it and make it the habit. That's how you make the habit stick. Is how do you set your goal? Do it this way. Use a time management tool, set your goal, tell yourself, if I do this, this is what I'm gonna do. If I sell this house, this is what I'm gonna do. If I gotta pay my bills, if this is what I have to do so I can pay my bills, and when I do, then I'll be able to pay them off. Does this make sense? Does it excite you?
Yes.
I recommend that book. I read that book in 2 days. I was fascinated. But I need a time.
He's a bookworm. No, don't get that book. You. open up.
Okay. Let's see here. We don't have much time, so I'm gonna hand this up. This is some really good information here. Have empathy with your prospective customers. Will help you be more successful as a salesperson because you can relate to them. You can put yourself in their shoes. Is the biggest thing is really understand where they're coming, their frustrations, their pains, and all that. Not just what are they telling you, but getting to the real root reason. Often we don't ask why as salespeople. Why? It's a simple question. Why? What is the why? We're too busy saying, okay, they want this. So here's the solution. And then they're like, and you're like, but you told me that's what you wanted. No, I didn't. I just said, this is my problem. Understanding and asking why. First 20 hours, that video you watched about how it takes 20 hours to play the ukulele, that's his book. Now on the backside, again, you'll paint this as a human. Putting yourself in again about perspective. So I made that a handout because we didn't have enough time. But I think these cartoons really illustrate about perspective. If you're saying on this side it's a 6, on that side it's a 9, it's the same number. Depending on how you look at it, it's completely different. All right, sales methodologies. Victoria, you're asking about that. You didn't have one. I don't know. Do anybody not understand what I'm asking here, or what this is? Victoria, you on the fence on that? Okay. Wayne, you understand?
I haven't really seen any of it.
Okay. Pete?
That's the sales methodology.
Yeah, do you have a sales methodology?
I probably do.
I do not.
I don't have a name for it.
Yeah,
Okay, so a sales methodology is, let me give an analogy, is like religion for sales. So you can be spiritual and not be religious. So you could believe in God, but not say you're not a Catholic or a Jew or a Baptist or whatever. But your methodology might be, or your religion might be that you're one of those things. So you're a salesperson without a religion. This is your religion. You need to find one that fits your style. So there's a lot of different styles. For example, the challenger sales style is that customers need to be told what they want, and you have to educate them why they want that. Now, that generally works in business to business sales more than it works in real estate sales. Spin selling is solution, problem, and needs and all that. So that would work in real estate. The idea of you get a customer who says, I have 3 kids, I'm married, I have 4 dogs, and we need a pool because of whatever reason. So you're like, okay, so that's your needs, and I have to go solve it. So I put these up here, and if you go to the website, it's on there as well. Find a sales methodology for you. Why? Because it will put in place behaviors and disciplines that have been shown to work to make you more successful. You saw the video before about, we showed the video of Glenn Larry and Ross, always be closing. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's really simple, always be closing. But he doesn't cover how to be a better closer. He just tells people to close.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this course isn't designed to teach you the fundamentals of salesmanship, but this will help. If you've become a realtor without ever selling before, really selling as a profession, you probably need a methodology to follow, to understand the philosophies, the psychologies of how to sell to people. So what did you do before real estate?
You, cosmetology.
Okay, when?
Me, restaurant manager.
Okay.
Teaching.
Teaching. Pete?
Originally, restaurant and then nursing.
Okay. All right.
I was a licensed prosthetist.
A what?
Licensed prosthetist. I did artificial legs.
Oh, okay.
Amputees.
Nice.
I'm a restaurant manager.
Okay. So see, there's a little bit of selling in that, but not much. This job is 100% commission. This is what you sell. Sharice is not writing you a weekly check. You need a methodology. You need the core fundamentals about selling. If you don't go into the Amazon.com and buy a book on it, go to Wikipedia, go get some foundational information on the art of selling. Questions you should ask your customers. How to respond to questions. Determining their needs. All that stuff. Now, I know Sharice has talked about, we're almost out of time, about talking about features and benefits. Correct? Have you all participated in that training where she talks about why talking about features not, or talking about benefits, not features?
I don't think.
Okay. So real quick, find a methodology. If you have questions about this, ask Alona how to get a hold of me, or you can get a hold of me and I'll give you my information. I'll help you with this. You need a methodology. You need a religion in sales so you can become a real salesperson and not just trying to make it going, I'm not sure how to do this, but I'm doing it. What good is it getting a prospect if you don't know how to sell to the prospect? Okay, food for thought. That's what that says in Spanish. Why? Because 1/5 of the sales in Florida are to Latin Americans. If you don't speak Spanish, you're missing 20% of the Florida market.
That's still, last night when I put my listing in, I translated it into Spanish in the comments.
You need to learn Spanish. If you're a realtor in Florida, you need to learn Spanish. It takes 20 hours, right?
No.
Longer.
Okay. Start working it. At least have the basic greetings. Hola, be able to have
It's appreciated. It's appreciated when, that's what I'm finding.
They're more likely bilingual, but you should at least have enough that you can greet them and some basic stuff.
Such a way.
Okay? And this is statistics coming from the split. The link is there, but that's where it's from. And that's in the last year. It's a huge market. It's bigger in Miami and Fort Lauderdale and West Palm, but they're coming this way because it's built out there. It's full. And that's why these counties are exploding. And down south, Naples, Sarasota is very expensive. So where's the closest, more reasonably affordable area? Pasco, Hernando, Pinellas, Hernando County. Okay. Recap. All right, there's a lot of competition. So you need to work smarter, not just harder. You don't have to be Mr. and Mrs. Outgoing, just be yourselves and you're gonna relate to the customers that are out there. Prospect more, how do you do that? Follow the time management tool brochure that I gave you guys. Follow the if, then, slash, and then when. It's gonna take 66 days to become a habit, so you know that, so you need to keep working it, keep working it, and keep working it, and eventually it will become a habit. And be mindful that customers are researching the heck out of things online, on Zillow, Truilla, Realtor.com, before they even talk to you. And when they do, they generally don't trust you, and they're not gonna be loyal to you. So you need to do everything you can to show them that you're genuine, that you can relate, that you're like them, to have a friendship, to build a rapport, and hopefully in Spanish, you expand. And practice, practice, practice. Here's a link, it's on the website. I'm not gonna play it now, but it's not what you do, it's why you do it. And this is a great video on that philosophy. That's what Sharice was talking about, know your why. That's the video that goes with that, know your why. Why are you doing this? And I asked that on your thing, on your last question is why? So I'm gonna ask that, we got 5 minutes. You're trying to, why are you a realtor?
It's for the freedom, of not being beholden to a boss.
When?
It's generally the same thing, so I work, 100 hours a week doing restaurant, other stuff, and I need more time with my family.
Nice.
And more money, of course.
Sure. Well,
Well, I love making dreams become reality.
nice. Making dreams reality. Mark?
Same thing. I retired from the prosthetic business and I just said I'll never work for somebody again. I can't do that. Gotta be in the freedom.
Yeah.
No, I'll never do it again.
Keith?
Yeah, freedom, family, my kids, and for my future.
Nice. Yeah.
Want to increase the amount of savings I have after teaching, don't have much, and I definitely want to travel more.
Nice. So all have their reasons. A lot of them are very similar. Those are all great reasons. And whenever you're setting your goal, always picture your why. Why am I doing this? Your freedom. I don't want to work for a boss. I don't want to work 100 hours a week. I want to travel more because I want to make people happy. I want to do it for my family. Picture that as your end goal. When you're doing it, you're prospecting it, that's your why. Don't ever forget your why. It's not just, oh God, I got to call and I'm going to get rejected. No, I got to call because I want to travel. I got to call because of my kids. People do desperate things when they're desperate, they do crazy things. But you can also do crazy things at work. And it's amazing how much people will get done, like they were being in that video at the beginning, threatening to lose their job that night if they didn't make their goal. Now, we know what happens in the movie, but in most cases, people won't resort to stealing the magical real estate leads and selling them to the competition. But the thing is that you go out there and you'll work harder and you'll get it done. And I've seen it in my own sales teams that work for me when I've sat people down and said, listen, you got till the end of the week to make it happen. Amazingly, they make it happen. But it's also a double-edged sword because as a leader, then I have to say, now you need to do that every week because you know you can't. And of course, they don't want to hear that. They want to go back to their bad behaviors and then end up firing people. I've hired and fired thousands of people in my career. It's never fun firing. It's always fun hiring because it's potential, but it's never fun to say, I'm sorry, and people lose their dreams and their family and they have to go work for somebody else and they have to lose their vacation or whatever they had dreams about. I've had people threaten me. I've had people cry. I've had people destroy rooms. But that's what happens. Selling is tough. So again, go back to the methodology. Find a methodology and stick with it. Okay, we're not going to do the exercise. I'd like to get a referral from you guys, and I'll talk about that in a second. Here's all the references, so you can see all the references that were used. So again, this is not me telling you stories or anecdotes. This is all clinically researched. And please take the time if you're interested. It's on that website right there, salesmastercourse/REE, which is real estate edition. Are you writing that down, Victoria?
Mhm.
Okay, wait. If you go to realestatemastercourse.com, it's right now, it's being updated for 2019. But if you go to the /REE, you will find this page. And it's a lot bigger, so you can actually read it. All right. Real quick. So one last thing, features and benefits. You do not want to sell features. Steve Jobs was the master salesman, the P.T. Barnum of our generation, who didn't tell people that it had a computer chip that plays music and 5 gigabytes of miniature hard drive. He told people it lets you carry 1,000 songs in your pocket. That's the benefit. That's the feature. You need to do this, not this, when you're talking to customers. So here's a house, 4-bedroom, 3-bath. So you're not selling a 3-bedroom bath house. You're selling enough room for you and your 2 children. You're not selling it sits on an acre, plenty of room for a swing set. You're not selling orange shag carpet. You're talking about you can pull out and put the floors you've always wanted, whether it's tile or wood. It's not an A-rated school. It's kids will have a great education. You want to focus on this. So when you get a listing, you need to write down the features, make another column for benefits, and write down those benefits, and then rehearse them out loud with a spouse, your dog, your cat, kids, your parents, your wife, your husband. Rehearse the benefits so they become natural. So when they say, well, tell me about the house, or you're touring the house, or you're walking into the house, this is what's coming out of your mouth, not this.
That's right.
Nobody cares. They already know. They already researched the house. Remember, 57% of them already researched the house. This is what you need to do. This is selling 101 right here. This is what a salesman does. Salesperson, salesman, woman, whatever. You're selling benefits. If they want features, they'll go to Zillow. If they didn't do this, they went, most of the time, I don't know how many people do, they scroll down and they read that big, long blurb. A good realtor is going to do this, not rehash this. A lot of them rehash this because they don't understand this. Nobody wants to hear this crap. They already saw it at the top. So annoying. It's like, I don't care about all that crap. What does it really mean to me? Okay, so price. Don't talk price. Talk value. Give you one quick story and then we're done. The greatest insurance salesman in the world was a guy named Ben Feldman. Ben sold hundreds of millions of dollars in life insurance to people in Central Ohio in a 60 square mile radius. He wasn't a VP. He was just a door-to-door knock on, hey, I'm selling life insurance. He did this for 30 years. He got old. He had a heart attack. He went to the hospital. I think it was Prudential had a big contest, said we're going to have a Ben Feldman contest to raise awareness. We're going to do life insurance all for Ben's name. Go team, go. There was a contest and a winner. He won it from the hospital room without ever knocking on a door. He won it. $28 million, $100 million in life insurance sold from a hospital bed. Why? Because he sold this way. He used the analogy of don't let the window close. He didn't say it was X amount of dollars per month. It was, if something happens to you, is your family going to be taken or are you going to close that window and shut the door? Talk about value. The house isn't $300,000. It's a piece of money. So that's all I got.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Look at my notes.
Thank you, Steve. I
You're welcome.
appreciate that. All right, you guys learned some good stuff?
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go, what are we gonna do with that information?
Practice it.
We're gonna put it in action. Action. Thanks for coming, Mark. It's good to see you.